Oh,
Oh, what? Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Give me a second. You caught me off guard. I was about to cut off her hairs. What's good, everybody?
what's good, everybody?
We are going live today to cut some hairs and to talk about haircuts. So, to anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Mel. I'm a professional hairstylist. You can call me a main girl. Curly hair is my specialty, and you probably already know that. That's why you're here. So, I'm so excited for everyone to be joining us, me and my C's.
Can everyone hear us well?
Yes, let's get a check-in. Lights, camera, action. This thing is a little finicky. There we go. Lights, camera, action. Hello. So, just to kick us off, we're doing Amanda a little bang trim. It's been about 5 months since we've cut her hair. I think we did one bang trim in between there. On that note, throughout today's live stream, we're going to be talking a lot about how often you need to cut your hair, maybe what the right type of haircut is for you. I'm happy to answer lots of questions that you have in the live chat after I get through this bang trim, because bangs have been a very hot topic. Mm-hmm. Who saw the idea of you with Anne Hathaway? Let me know. Did you love it? First of all, Amanda, put your hand down because you said you didn't even like it.
It wasn't that good.
Okay.
She looked great, but I didn't like
Anne Hathaway looked absolutely amazing, and her bangs were absolutely slaying. We've gotten a lot of compliments on bangs all throughout this year since we first cut Amanda's, because one of the biggest trends this year has been eyelash bangs, which are longer bangs. Now, we are going to be cutting a little bit of Amanda's off, and we're going to try not to get too much hair on her, but I'm going to explain a little bit about what I'm doing, how we're achieving that shape, and then Amanda's going to go ahead and diffuse while I continue to chat with you. So what we're going to really be talking about today is what to expect when you get your haircut, right? Because you need to be prepared about a few things up in here. Okay. Now, what I have done here with Amanda's sectioning, and this is what you really need to know about bangs. In order for bangs to really slay, they need to connect with the whole haircut. Like, they need to make sense, which is why sometimes when you DIY bangs at home, they don't tend to make sense. Sometimes they don't blend, right? Amanda, how are you looking for these bangs to blend in your hair?
So I love a wispy bang. A wispy eyelash bang, meaning that they're not very thick and chunky, and they just kind of hit just above my eyes or my eyebrows, right around here. And I actually haven't had a trim from you since you first cut these, so that's I'm excited to get a nice reshape of the bangs.
Reshape indeed. If you really want the bangs to connect into your overall shape, I want to show you what we did with Amanda's sectioning. So I didn't just take the traditional triangle section at her bangs. I also connected about a 1-inch section right along her hairline to just behind her ear, at the top of her ear. Because these are the face framings these are the pieces that Amanda may leave out if she's doing her hair in an up style. These are the most important pieces of the whole haircut. So we want to make sure that anytime we're doing bangs, it's at least cutting into the face frame.
Yeah, we want it to flow.
We want everything to flow, right? Flowy gorgeousness. And so what I am doing is very much taking pivoting sections, because we also want them to kind of frame her face in this rounded shape. You're wearing the bangs frontwards, right? So no side bangs here. This is if you're going for the Mell and Amanda bangs, the same bangs that I tend to have right now. So what I am doing, you'll notice, is a lot of lifting, which you might not be too familiar with. You may be very familiar with pulling bangs down, but what do we know about curly hair and haircuts?
They spring up.
They spring up, but that they also need to be layered. If you want these to be nice and wispy and not too heavy sitting on your face, we're going to be layering them on Amanda's hair as well. And we create layers when we elevate and lift the hair off of the scalp. So that's what I am doing here. I am elevating. Turn your head, Amanda, just to show them how. I am elevating, trimming. Now, this is a healthy cut. that Amanda's kind of needed, because while the bangs have looked good, they haven't been sitting right.
No,
right?
they
They're not.
haven't been-
They're very much in your eyes.
They haven't been trimmed since February.
And so now we have got this diagonal shape that I have created. And from here, I'm going to use that as a guideline.
This is why I didn't put mascara on yet, because my hair is just
I was going to say, Amanda, we're looking a little makeupless. We are looking effortless. We are looking stunning. Now, talk about how your daily maintenance has been with bangs.
You know what? It's much easier than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this a few times, but curly hair with bangs, and I feel like is less maintenance than if you were to have straight hair and bangs, because when you wake up in the morning, if the hair doesn't look exactly like it did the other day and the curls are maybe moving in another direction, it doesn't look off. It looks fine because curly hair is unruly. I mean, it's natural, right? So it kind of just flows easier. I just find that in the morning, I kind of just play with a little bit of hair oil and I'll smooth them down. But for the most part, I rarely have to refresh them and wet them down with water. Like I see people on TikTok and with straight hair and they're like washing their bangs and they're restyling them every day. Where I find with curly hair, you definitely do not need to do that. So if you've been on the fence about having bangs, they're really not as scary as they look, especially for curly hair.
How you go to sleep with your hair is going to make the biggest difference in the morning. But when it comes to straight hair, or you could also have curly hair and have this issue, is because the bangs tend to sit right on your face.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an oilier face, oilier scalp type, that's when kind of just the washing of the bangs happens.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that's kind of a life hack.
No, I think
Why
it's
wash
great.
your whole head if you can just get away with washing the bangs? Am I right? Am I right?
No, I think that's great. I'm just saying, like, I haven't found that I need to do that, which is great. But I also don't really have an oily scalp.
The bangs are definitely pretty low maintenance. And here, I want you to, I don't know if you can really see, but basically what I'm doing is connecting Amanda's bangs to her ends, and I'm creating just long round layers. Amanda's current haircut, we should describe, is considered to be like a shag haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't like too many labels. You know, it can be really hard to describe haircuts, especially since everyone's got different lingo. Every stylist has different lingo. There's different languages around the world. So the best universal language is photos. But the key factors that shows you that this is a shag haircut is the fact that there are so many layers that are shorter, and they kind of flow like a waterfall effect in through her ends. So that's the key that you can see that gives Amanda this haircut. How do you know if a haircut is right for you and what technique you should use? These are some of the biggest, most important things that you need to consider before cutting. Before going ahead and starting to follow what I'm doing watching this video, okay? Let's just get that out of the way. This is not necessarily a tutorial. This is an infomercial, okay? So what you need to know is you need to consider what your hair type and texture is in order to figure out which technique you want to use. That could include which tool. I am using regular scissors on Amanda's hair today, not thinning shears, and I will demonstrate to you why we don't like to use these. You know, these bad boys.
God, I've had some traumatizing experiences with those.
Yeah, we don't mess with these on. I don't mess with them on anyone's texture of hair, but there are other tools that may also be used, and really it's all about how they're used, right? This is a razor. Curly hair can definitely be razor cut, but it all depends on who is the subject. Anytime you're using shears, scissors, you're going to get a very clean cut result. This is going to create a bit of a blunter end, which is especially great if your hair is on the finer side or if you like a very strong shape. Anytime that you want something with a softer edge, a little bit of a flowier result, that's when you can definitely go in perhaps with a razor cut, perhaps with more slide cutting, which is just a different way of using the shears. But in general, when you're using scissors, this is my preferred method. It's usually the go-to for curly hair because it does tend to get more of a clean cut. Now, if you really want that clean cut, the other thing is you need to consider the state of the hair. Obviously, Amanda's hair right now is wet, drying rapidly. Drying rapidly. Here, Amanda, let's get a little pulse check. Ah! I was just checking to see if you were alive. She's alive. She's going to keep complaining, and I'll just keep spraying. We're cutting her hair wet right now to create that strong shape, right? Anytime you're cutting wet, you're creating a strong shape. However, a lot of the times when curly hair is cut wet, it tends to end with that super strong shape. That's when we can notice how it springs up very drastically, right? These are some of the things that you need to consider and be aware of before you get your hair cut. And that's why we like to do things in stages. I've done the wet cut of Amanda's hair right now. Let me just do a quick balance check. My biggest tip if you're cutting your hair at home is please always check to see if you are even on each side. Yeah, that's feeling good. That's feeling good. But it's so hard to tell right now while her hair is wet, which is why we finish the cut when it's dry. Amanda's going to go off, style her bangs, diffuse them, and come back. Really just dry the bangs and then come back to me.
Yes.
Now you just have me. We can do lots of chatting.
Now it's time to ask all your questions.
Yes. Let me see what we have here. And I also have my models for any demos that we need to do. But let me get in this chat and say hello to all my friends. Thank you. You're so welcome. Yeah, we really wanted to come in this live stream today because we noticed that haircuts have been trending. Now, this is always a trending topic.
I just want to show. Look how much hair just from bangs.
I will remember you. You're about to change your life.
Rest in peace.
She's about to change her life because a woman who cuts her hair, anyone who cuts their hair, is about to change their life. And not to really go there, but did I mention today happens to be a full moon? I'm just saying, if you're feeling like you need to release some energy, you need a fresh start, today is a great day. And if you have more questions, we're going to start to talk about maybe how you can go about that, right? Maybe which DIY haircut you might want to do. We posted our revolutionary pigtails haircut video 4 years ago, and it's still one of our most popular videos on the channel. We always get lots of views on that video because realistically, people are always looking to cut their hair, right? So we wanted to make this video to kind of clear the air about the hair and talk about if you actually want to use that. Do I still use that, right? I've gotten a lot of comments asking if I still recommend the pigtails haircut. And before I get into that, oh, thank you. Hello. Before we talk about the different types of haircuts, let's just talk about why it might be the right time and what you need to be aware of before you make a big change. Because before you cut, you need to consider all of the things, right? Like what's going to happen afterwards. We talked about how when you cut your hair wet, you can tend to expect a little bit more shrinkage, right? Anytime you are putting tension on the hair, on curly hair, there's a big ricochet effect that happens. Now, not if we're straightening it out and using heat, although sometimes some of my best curls happen after my hair has been straight. But for example, we love using the ribbon curl styling technique, which is using a brush to create tension on the hair because it really helps them spring back. And same thing happens with cutting. So when you're cutting the hair wet, tell me if you've had this experience. Your hair may shrink up a lot. It may look like you've lost a lot more hair and a lot more length than maybe you were expecting or that you were prepared for. This can either be used to your advantage or something to be aware of. That's what happens with wet cuts. When it comes to DIYs at home, many of the tutorials that you see online happen to be done on hair that is wet. Because at the end of the day, when you're creating a haircut on wet hair, you are going to get a stronger haircut. And when you are doing a DIY haircut, you tend to get cleaner and better results that way. So that's one of the reasons why I created the pigtails haircut. I found that that's a pretty universal haircut that pretty much anyone can do, because I came up with that based on how we actually layer the hair. So I want to kind of demonstrate. If you have a question, amen for this. Oh, let me ask a question. Let me answer a question here. Someone's saying, what hair type do you have? And I'll answer that because I myself use these hair cutting techniques. I myself cut my own hair. And what I have here is my texture is fine to medium. My curl pattern has changed a little bit. I would consider myself to be a 3B. And my hair has a pretty medium to high density. So I've got a good amount of hair in here, which is really important to consider when you are wanting to get your hair cut. So let's talk about how, again, back to expectations and having realistic expectations. Sometimes there's a haircut that you want, but it doesn't translate the same way on your hair texture. My hair tends to be cut with graduation and layers. It's a variety of techniques. It's not something that we just do with ponytail haircuts, because it's not just a simple trim. It's pretty elaborate. I did post a video on that as well, but I digress. When it's more of an elaborate haircut, like realistically, if you think about the ponytail haircuts, these are simplified to the max, right? They're not necessarily going to work on everybody. Can they? Yes. Will everyone get the same results doing the same pigtails haircut? No. And that happens with every single haircut because everyone's hair texture is different. So you need to consider what your hair's density is, how long your current hair is, your curl pattern, because your curl pattern will help you determine, if your layers are going to be able to stack and such. What am I missing? I know I'm missing something. Your texture, and your lifestyle. Are you actually going to be able to maintain this haircut? Certain haircuts require more frequent cutting. I cut my bob like every 2 to 3 months. I notice, okay, it's time. And I just start going in and just doing like light dustings. So some haircuts, especially if they're shorter, they're going to need more maintenance. Is that something you're prepared for, right? These are the things you need to think about before you cut your hair. So these are things that you can expect, right? Expect more maintenance for more elaborate haircuts, and expect there to be some learning curves. When you cut your hair short, I've gotten a lot of questions if my texture changed because of that. And if we look throughout my years on this channel, it's been over 6 years, my curl pattern has changed a little bit, but it happened gradually and it didn't happen right when I cut my hair. Our hair changes throughout our lives all the time. It's very common. We can change through stress, from our hormones. Our haircut itself won't change your hair, but when you cut a lot of hair off, you may notice the changes a lot more. Does that make sense? So when I cut my hair, did I, change my texture? I did not. But that being said, when I cut this hair dry. When you are making a very big change, because we know that wet cuts can create more tension, they can create a little bit more shrinkage, they can create a beautiful, strong shape. But when we're working with a new shape, we're working with a lot of length that we're removing, I'm always going to recommend starting off with a dry cut. That way you can create the shape from scratch and then clean it up when it's wet. We're kind of doing the opposite right now on Amanda's hair. I'm starting on wet, then I'm going to clean it up and refine it on dry. The best haircut uses multiple techniques because you can't just cut the hair in one singular way, especially when it's curly. So if you are making a really big change, what I will say is consider taking it very slow and definitely starting on your hair dry, starting with a dry cut. With a dry cut, you have to expect there to be more inconsistencies because your hair probably looks different every time you wash it, right? Is that just me? No. Usually the hair looks a little different every time we wash it. You may notice some ends are a little bit softer. So with a wet cut, when we're cutting with a strong straight blade, we are creating a nice clean end. With a dry cut, the ends are going to be a little bit more wispy and softer and have a more lived in effect. That's something to consider, because if you have a texture that is finer and maybe a little bit a thinner hair texture, a dry cut might make your ends look a little bit wispy in the wrong way, and they may split faster as well. A strong haircut can help to give the hair more structure and just last better, especially if maybe your goal is not to cut it short, but actually to grow it. So that's the biggest thing. With a dry cut, you'll get a softer result. It can look really, really beautiful, but that too doesn't necessarily work with every single texture. However, if you are making a big change for all curly girls, you definitely want to start off, I would recommend, with a dry haircut, just so you can see how the hair is going to live. And that's why a lot of stylists nowadays, if you go to a curl specialist, majority of them are cutting the hair when it is dry. And in my professional opinion, I think a large part of that is, yes, so we can create a beautiful shape, because shape is in. And we'll talk a little bit about trends, because I did get some questions on that. I got a lot of questions in on Instagram, actually. If you're here from Instagram, hey, thanks for joining. If you're not following me on Instagram, you should. I am at Mains by Mel. So on my Instagram stories, a lot of people were asking about trends as well. And a big trend, it's been a trend for years now since curly hair became big, pun intended, has been like the really big lion hair. A lot of people call it the lion shape. We see a lot of Rizo cuts shaped this way, even the Cado cut. These are hair cutting techniques, just names for haircuts that tend to emulate this very rounded shape, where it has this kind of heavier bang that also blends into layers and just creates a really full lion effect. That has been a very trending haircut. And because of that, I think a lot of stylists choose to cut the hair dry, because you can really see where the density is and how you can build up weight in the hair. And it also gives clients a bit of a peace of mind. Who has been scared sitting in the chair, getting their hair cut wet and wondering, God, like the whole time you're panicking because you're like, I have no idea how this is going to look when I'm done here, right? When the hair is cut dry, you can see it come to life right before your eyes. So it can kind of be a bit of a calmer experience. And I think that's why a lot of stylists, for multiple reasons, but including that reason, tend to use dry cuts as opposed to wet cuts in the salon, especially if you are going to a curly hair specialist salon. But stylists that have been seasoned doing hair for a very long time and do all textures of hair, and I am on this wave, will tell you that you can really cut the hair in any state. You can cut it wet, you can cut it dry. And that's why I do kind of like to educate you on why and when you might want to do each technique, right? Because there's a time and place for everything. So like I mentioned on my hair, and if you're cutting your hair short, if you have finer hair or hair that is very reactive, hair that has a lot of shrinkage, hair like textured Tammy here, this hair is super, super tight and coily. This hair is super reactive. If I cut this hair when it is stretched out and wet, it can really shrink up a lot more when it is dry. And if I have a specific shape in mind, I'm going to create a much stronger shape if I cut it dry. Now, I have not cut her hair since I've had her, because I'm like, I don't want to cut the hair and then not have this head to work with for demos. Like, I want to keep the hair as long as possible. But who thinks that the manis need a bit of an upgrade? I think we could give them a cute little style, you know? There's not too much length to work with here, but I think that could be fun. If I come close to the camera here, you can see my sweat mustache. So I'm gonna try to stay back here. But yes, everyone, I am in fact sweating. And texture Tammy here would be sweating if I were to cut her hair wet. for example. Can I? Absolutely. When would I cut this hair texture wet? When I wanted a super strong shape. If I wanted something that's a little bit more lived in, if I wanted to maintain more of the length and just kind of shape up around the edges, then I would go in with the hair dry. But it all depends on the final result. So anytime that we are going to, before we cut our hair, we need to think about what is our end goal here. Okay, I have a question I want to answer here. Karina, hello. She says, hi, sisters. In South Africa, we cannot get most of the products you recommend. Verb, Aveda, etc. Do you have any suggestions for more common international brands? L'Oreal, Kerastase. L'Oreal and Kerastase are both great. I unfortunately do not really use them because they happen to be not cruelty-free, but you can make any product work for you. And I talk a lot about this in my styling demos. There's good products in both. Amanda's really like the Kerastase curl line. Use what is available to you. It's all about how you use it. I always try to focus my content, including today's video, on how to do things and why, like understanding the why. If you understand why you need to use a leave-in conditioner, why you might want to use a curl cream, why you need to use a gel, it doesn't really matter the brand. You just, you can get similar results using really any product. I know that's really vague, but I'm unfamiliar with products in South Africa, and I still hope that answered your question. As I was saying, though, you got to think about what results you want, and if it's possible with your hair, and definitely consult with a professional, right? Let me see. Is there another question? Where was it? Let me see my notes. So all the things that we need to expect when we're expecting to cut our hair. A lot of shrinkage, perhaps. Curls not curling the same, right? Sometimes right after a haircut, there's a little bit of shock, and it's like my hair doesn't quite know how to act. I don't know what to do with my hands. That can absolutely happen as well. Give your hair a few washes after the haircut and then see if it starts to find itself again. I've never really had too many issues with this because I think it depends on if the hair was cut to your hair type. But yeah, sometimes that is a thing. Sometimes the hair, it goes into a slight shock, but it should definitely go back to its natural state once you style it a couple more times. Some haircuts need more styling. More styling is required. You might consider anytime you have bangs for there to be more styling required, only because you have to section them separately. That's my biggest tip with bangs. That's why Amanda is out over there styling her bangs right now, separately from the rest of her hair, because you have to think about them as their own entity. Even though we blend them into the rest, we style these completely separately because you need to think about where the hair is laying. Thinking about how your hair naturally falls, your texture, your growth patterns, all of these things will help you figure out which haircut might be right for you. Almost. Amanda's almost ready for me. That doesn't make things any easier when trying to figure out which DIY haircut to do, right? But let me give you a very quick cliff notes on the DIY haircuts, especially that I have put out on my channel. The very first one was reinventing the unicorn haircut, which has kind of evolved. No one's really doing the unicorn anymore. Now it's kind of become the butterfly haircut. This is a haircut that works really well on long hair like Amanda's. If you have very long hair like my sisters, it works well because it's going to give you a long layered effect, and it's going to give you rounded layers, as in the layers are shorter in the front and longer in the back. But it's not the haircut to do if you have short hair. If you want, if you don't want a mullet, so that's the thing. Mullets are very in. I actually think mullets are extremely chic. I am pro mullet, but not everybody is. And so the unicorn haircut is not for you if you do not want a mullet. If you have short hair, maybe medium hair, you can get away with it. The unicorn haircut is for longer hair. The pigtails haircut is the one I came out with. That's more for the medium, and I would say this is medium hair. Medium, short hair. Okay, super short is pixie. We're talking about medium and short hair. That haircut is going to help give us the rounded layers effect, similar to the very trending haircuts that we are seeing in the salons. Again, that really big lioness rounded haircut. But it all depends on the ponytail placement. What you need to know about haircuts, and let me get my girls in here a little bit. I think I'm going to demonstrate. I've never named her. I don't know who you are. We've never named this one, but I am going to use her very quickly to show the difference between layers and graduation. And I myself am an example of both layers and graduation. Where you place a pony will determine if your hair is going to be layered, which helps to remove weight, versus graduated, which helps to stack the hair. So some people don't like really short layers, but they want like this, they almost want a bit of a triangular shape or a shape that has a nice rounded bottom. And so you're not looking for layers, you're looking for graduation. You have to think about how high you're going to place those ponies. You feel me? So I'm going to demonstrate this as if I had ponies in, but I'm not going to. So on this hair, if I lift the hair really high up and cut, once this hair falls, I'm going to create layers all throughout here. If I pull the hair down and maybe put a ponytail a little bit lower right here, when we expand that out and imagine the cut here, as it falls, you're going to create this lower layered, more of a stacked effect, which works beautifully on short hair. My hair would not look how it does if I did not have graduation in the back. That being said, that means that there's a lot of hair cut and a lot of layers. And if the hair is very, very fine, you're going to notice that it's going to be wispy. So layers, while these haircuts can work for everybody, you know, you can remove a lot of weight if you cut up here. You can create more fullness if you cut down here. In general, you might not have the right texture of hair for a lot of layering, especially if you're very fine. I get this question a lot. Like, what is the best haircut for really like super, super fine hair? And I would say almost no layers. Because layers do remove weight and they do create a little bit of a wispier effect, unfortunately, it can almost thin out the ends a little bit more. And so while we love layers on many types of textures with curly hair, it doesn't necessarily work for every texture. But that doesn't mean you can't still get bangs or face framing layers that help to frame the face in here and create this angle, this type of shape. You just don't want layers all throughout because it might make it a little bit thin and wispy. So I would not recommend, going back to the pigtails haircut, I would not recommend the pigtails haircut for that, because you're going to cut so much hair here and leave thinner bottoms. Let me know if that has happened to you. Have you unfortunately gone through haircuts that left you really thin ends? When I cut Amanda's hair, this past haircut, the first thing she said was, "Oh my God, it feels so thin," because technically we did cut out a lot of her hair, but that is how we achieved her shape. Which, is she ready? Is she ready to showcase her shape?
Yes.
She is. She's going to come back right now and show us her dry results. Oh, are you sweating? Me too. Just so you know.
It's hot.
It's hot in here. It's getting hot in here. Let's see.
Okay.
Thanks for the info on thin hair. Yeah, unfortunately, not every haircut is going to work for everybody. But especially if you have thin hair. Things to consider. Whoa. Hey, sister.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
Hot.
Hot. It's hot. It's hot. It's summer. My first complaint was yesterday after we were going on a hot girl walk. We were sweating. And then I said, Amanda, it's too hot. And then I had to stop myself and say, no.
No, it's beautiful.
It's just beautiful. I'm not complaining. I'm not
I
used
was
to
diffusing on high heat so that I could diffuse my hair fast and come back. So
I think we appreciate it. I think everyone has been dying to see your results and to see that you still have eyelash bangs.
We did not eyelash bangs.
We did not give you baby bangs.
I haven't breaking the cast, so that's why my hair maybe looks wet too. But I thought maybe Mel would want to do that. I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
so I just left the cast.
Amanda's left her cast. This is perfect. Now Amanda has styled the hair how she normally does. Remember when I said, if you are making a big change initially, to cut the hair when it is dry first. That way you can take things slow and see how things are shaping up. Yeah, take that to heart. If you are planning on being brave and cutting your own bangs, please do so in a dry state, at least to start, right? That way you can create the initial shape. So now that Amanda has already had these bangs before, I gave her a nice strong shape when they were wet. Mm-hmm. And now I'm going back in to refine. So as we can see, your hair is hot. I can feel the heat releasing, coming off of your scalp. It's ricocheting. Yep. We've got beautiful layers up here. Love, stunning. And now that the hair is in its natural state, we can do any refining. This is where we add the magic touch. This is where we see how the curls are naturally laying. And this should really be done on every hair texture. And this is why I will say, after doing a curly haircut, as a stylist, we always want to give the client the style that they want when they're leaving the salon. Like if you want to leave with a blowout, we'll blow out your hair. Can I promise that it's going to lay perfectly when we're done here? Well, it's there again. Then I would have started with a dry cut and then done wet and then styled your hair dry. But anyways, I love styling the hair naturally curly after a haircut so you can see how it's reacted and then react with it and do any final touches. So as I see Amanda's hair and I fluff just a little bit, I don't want to create frizz on your freshly washed hair. If we turn your head, other side, turn your head to the side, I'm getting this gorgeous rounded face framing shape that really connects all the way. Turn more. It connects all the way down to her face. So I am loving that. Do you see that? Do you love that shape? I think that's looking stunning. Let's see how it looks on the other side of her hair. Stunning. Stunning. Is there always something to refine? No. You may not go in and need to do any dry cutting. And I find that you usually don't have to do any dry cutting when the hair has a very consistent curl pattern. Amanda's curls they're the same all around, right? If you have very different curl textures, that's when you want to cut the hair dry and when you may need to do some more refining after it's dry now because you can actually see how the hair lays. So because Amanda has a consistent curl pattern, I almost always do her haircut wet. But here, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I need to do, but honestly, no, not really. What do you think? How do her bangs look? Amanda, get a little closer and maybe you gotta fluff the hair out.
Can you fluff it for me?
You want me to fluff it for you? Okay, we're gonna take some hair oil. I'm gonna take my jewelry off. And maybe you can see some questions that pop up in the live stream from my phone.
Yeah, we're going to answer a few questions now.
We'll answer a few more questions if I haven't. This is like such a huge topic. Honestly, once I decided, let's do a live stream on haircuts, I realized I could do a whole course on that. So it's not really not easy to do it all in
We'll
a live
definitely
stream.
do more. We can do more.
But that being said, we'll definitely do more. We're going to answer some questions that I couldn't get to.
Allie's asking me if this will be saved. Yes, the live, once we're done going live, the video will be saved so you guys can rewatch this video.
Absolutely.
But make sure to ask all your questions now about haircuts if we missed anything, and we'll answer a few of your questions before we close everything off.
Mm-hmm. Oh, your hair feels fabulous. What did you style with, ma'am?
Oh, I styled with Olaplex and Aveda, the new Aveda Be Curly Advanced one.
Oh, that explains it. You've got a good hold.
Do you do the pigtail haircut on dry hair?
So when you're doing a ponytail haircut, the videos that I've posted are all done on wet hair, because what's really important when it comes to any haircut, a good haircut doesn't just come from the cutting. No. It comes from the combing. How well do you comb the hair? Because you need to make sure that the hair is laying where it naturally does in the hair. For example, if you just throw in a very messy ponytail, then it could be all messed up. There could be pieces from the bottom and the top when you cut it. It could be like really not shapely. So with the ponytail haircut, any ponytail haircut, you always want to comb really well, which is why I usually do it when it is wet. However, can you do these ponytail haircuts on hair that is dry? You could. What I would recommend is really being strategic and really kind of finger combing the hair and making sure that it is laying as it naturally would fall when you're really lifting it, and then place it very gently into a ponytail and then very gently dust the ends. So can you do it dry? Yes. But I would kind of recommend doing it wet, especially if you want, again, that stronger shape. If you really want to clean ends, no splitting, that's when it's good to go in with the wet cut.
Someone asked, what oil are you using? We use the Verb Ghost oil to break the cast right now. Someone also asked, what's my Venus sign? My Venus sign is Aries.
Did you watch our video?
Yeah.
Now, yeah, speaking of, astrology and the full moon and Venus signs, we did put out a full video describing, how you might want to dress according to your Venus sign. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about,
dress.
This
haircut.
Is your sign. Yeah. Okay, hair is a style. Hey,
do you find short hair is easier or harder to deal with?
Well, that was just going to say, with short hair, no, it's actually extremely easy. I can do my whole wash day routine in half an hour.
Very quickly, yeah.
Half an hour, which is phenomenal because there's so much less hair. And curly hair, especially when it's short, is the hairstyle. So I just feel effortlessly chic everywhere I go.
Do you still use the pinwheel method? I want to add shorter layers, lioness cut using that method. How would I go about that?
Well, follow the video. But yes, if you notice, the way I established and addressed the bang section of Amanda's head was the same way that I kind of do the pinwheels haircut. So the pinwheels haircut is another DIY haircut I came up with last year, I want to say. It was last year, where it wasn't a ponytail haircut, but it was a DIY technique that treats the head like it's not a bowling ball, like it's a beach ball. And really it creates pivoting sections to create a really nice rounded shape to really create a lot of layers. So the pinwheels haircut, I would go about that either wet or dry, now that you know how you might want to address that based on your hair type from throughout this live. You can address it however you want to, but yeah, follow the video very carefully. And if you haven't seen the pinwheels haircut, that is definitely a haircut to get overall layers all throughout. The unicorn haircut creates shorter in the front, longer in the back. The universe haircut creates short in the back, long in the front. The pigtails haircut creates roundness throughout the sides with a little bit of like a U shape, so it's a little bit longer in the back. The pinwheels haircut creates layers all throughout, so very even layers all throughout. So if I turned Amanda's head, you'll see that her bangs are here, and all throughout the back as well, she'd have a lot more lift all her layers have pretty much grown out.
Yeah.
They're quite long now.
When cutting dry with different textures, should it be brush styled or brushed? Should it be brushed or styled? Meaning, I think brushed, I think she means like brushed out.
I've done both. So that also depends on your hair's texture. When you brush, you kind of want to start out.
It has different textures.
If your hair has different textures, you can brush it out, but you also let the hair then bounce back so you can see where it's laying. If your hair falls easily and like once you've brushed it out, it doesn't look the same, it's maybe a lot longer, then I would recommend doing it styled. So not combing out the hair, because you do want to see how the hair is going to clump back. For example, if your hair is really, really fine and you have a loose kind of wavy texture, if you brush it all out and fluff it all out and then try to cut, it's hard. Once the hair condenses back to its natural shape, it's not going to look that same way. If the hair doesn't naturally expand, like on Texture Tammy, you could brush this hair texture out and then shape it and get a really consistent look because it pretty much defies gravity. If you have a finer hair texture that works with gravity and tends to fall flatter, I wouldn't brush it out too much. I would kind of style it more in its natural, cut it more in its natural styled state.
So is there a way to make fine hair with wavy on top but kinky curls underneath look good with a haircut? Or is it products and styling that will fix it?
I mean, what does look good with the haircut mean? A lot of the times it is products and styling. If your textures are that drastic, I would almost, consider a perm, perhaps, if that's something that, if you find that your hair is giving you a lot of distress and you want it to make your maintenance easier, there are perms that you can do that would just...
That honestly sounds like a damage issue, though, if her hair is so loose at the top
if it's
versus
loose
the
at the
bottom.
top and
when my hair was very damaged, like the texture on top was not as curly as the bottom because that's where it's healthiest. It's not exposed to so much like the sun or me touching it and the heat from my diffuser or things like that. So I honestly think just treat that top section because it sounds like it's damaged because that's a drastic change.
Yeah, if damage is your issue, it's okay. This is a safe place. You can admit that. What I would recommend is spot treating it. So giving the top layer the treatments that it needs, and also cutting layers will help preserve that kinkiness and also length on the bottom. Like if you cut the bottom, it might shrink up more. I would leave the bottom length and just cut the top with layers to help even everything out. But definitely a dry cut. Definitely a dry cut on your hair texture.
I think we're going to end this off with one more video because I don't want this live to be too long.
One more question.
What did I say?
One more video.
Oh, sorry. One more question, and that will be, I'm going to answer Jackie's question because this happened to me years and years and years ago, and I hope this helps. So my stylist just took some thinning shears to my hair. Am I doomed, or is there anything I can do to fix it? I'm assuming now you notice that your ends are probably really, really thin, and then the top of your hair is super thick. Because that's what I personally experienced one time when someone decided to take thinning shears to my hair in order to help with the frizz and help make it not look so big. But all it did was make this top portion of my hair super, super big and frizzy, and then my ends were so sparse. It was so traumatizing. So
tragic.
Hopefully Mel can help you with that.
I'm going to give you a quick demo and just to explain, because this is all that needs to be said on why we don't use these thinning shears. When I take a curl and I use the thinning shear, it cuts some hair short randomly. It cuts some random hair short and leaves the ends long. This creates a lot of frizz, shatters the curls on the ends. Is it a lost cause? I don't want to say that because hair grows, thankfully. But what I would do in order to help get your hair back on track is to trim your ends and try to get them into a nice full shape again. Yeah. So it's something that's going to take lots of time. And when it comes to styling, there are some things you can do. I would definitely recommend using stronghold gels and really smoothing them through the hair because it'll help lay down all of those short little hairs. Maybe finger coil to help tuck in those shortcut, thinned out strands again, and then that will definitely help kind of hold you over until it grows out. So we're not saying you're doomed.
You're not doomed.
But
you made it through it.
I think you need to give it.
Yeah,
you need to give it some time to grow out.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the most traumatic things that could happen to curly hair. Yeah. And if anyone ever picks up a thinning shear in your vicinity, I want you to pick up these fists.
Call the police.
Okay?
Call
the police immediately. Call me. I will definitely do another live stream like this. We've got a lot of questions. I didn't really get to answer too many of them. So if you have questions that I didn't get to, do leave them in the comment section of the video.
Not the live chat.
Not the live chat. Put them in the comment section. I'll try to answer them there. If not now, I will eventually get to them. We'll do another video of a Q&A about haircuts.
Yeah.
And that's that, I think. Amanda, your bangs look...
My bangs are banging.
Do they feel fresh?
Just a quick close-up for you.
Hair looks fab. Love it. Your ends are a bit wet there.
Yeah.
Your hair's still a little bit wet. She has to go finish.
I just wanted to come on here before I got too... Didn't want to make you wait too long. But anyways, thank you guys so much
Thank you for joining us. We love you. And we'll see you next week with a very highly anticipated review. Ooh.
Yeah, we have a very highly anticipated review for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you check that out. But I also wanted to say, I noticed a lot of you asking about giveaways because we do giveaways in the lives.
It's the end of the month.
It's the end of the month. So make sure that you subscribe to our newsletter on mainsbymell.com. And at the end of this month, we're going to be announcing a few giveaway winners. So make sure you're subscribed there and let us know in the comments that you've done that.
Not to brag, but I've been doing some spring cleaning. There's a lot of really good stuff that we're going to give away. There's been a lot of new launches that I want to share with you guys. So again, make sure you're subscribed to our
every month
weekly newsletter. We're not annoying, I swear.
No, we're
Vouch
not.
for us. We only email you once a week.
Just
and
to
then
keep you once a month we give you a giveaway.
So subscribe to that, and then perhaps you'll win. And I will hope to see you in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.